Okay, so objective data, actionable data from an assessment, and that's what you're looking for, whether you use work keys or you use a test that's been developed specific for your company for knowledge, or you use an assessment tool like the Profiles PXT. You're looking for actual data, data that helps you. The reason I fell in love with PXT, we were looking at assessments. We had tried several. We tried emergenetics. We had tried 5 Dynamics, and they are great tools. I'm not knocking those at all. What differentiated the PXT for me and the reason that I got involved with the company was because you don't just get the assessment that says, hey, this is who you are, that chart, and the explanation of what that means about you. But if you use it for your company, you also get an interview guide. If it's a job that's been assessed and you've done a performance model on it, you get an interview guide that says, this person scored a 5 where we really want an 8. So here's some questions to ask them to see if they've learned to modify. This person scored a 3 and that's right in the zone, but here's some questions to make sure that they're really aware of how this applies to the job. So you get an interview guide. The interview guide, all of the questions have been approved by the EEOC, so it's going to keep you out of trouble. And it'll even tell you what to listen for. Listen to see if they say this, because that's going to tell you if they're aware that they're outside the range on this and they've learned to accommodate for it. It also gives you a management guide, an onboarding guide. So it says, here are some management considerations for this person. So all those guys that were highly unmanageable, the management consideration would be, they're going to be resistant to dictates. They're going to be resistant to standardized operating procedures unless they design them. And how do you work with that? It's going to say, this person, this 10, you saw that person was a 10 on energy level. This person is going to get bored to tears in a process job. You're going to have to give them interaction. Don't put them on an assembly line, okay? And don't trust them with anything that requires a lot of detail. Because it's not that they can't do it, it's just that they're going to lose track of where they were and move on to something much more exciting. So now we're going to skip back to where we were. I got those a little out of order because I decided I wanted Adam to go first. All right, so from steps 1 to 3, as much as step 1 is about defining the job and determining the requirements of it, steps 2 and 3 hinge, both of these hinge on a clear mission statement and a strong vision statement and the intentional development of culture. And I love that you guys hit that. Several of y'all mentioned missions. Where were they? Be consistent with your mission and engage your employees. And as I went to the tables, I heard people talking about mission or vision. If you are sitting here and you are an employer or someone who helps with hiring or culture development at your company, and your company doesn't have a stated mission, you need to stop. And you need to deal with that first. These 2 steps, the next 2 steps to finding and hiring the right people or keeping the right people, hinge on a good mission and vision and the intentional development of culture. So what does that mean? A mission statement summarizes the purpose of your business, and it provides an internal measure of success. It tells me, okay, this is what we do, and this means we're successful, and here are our values, and here's how we impact customers. One of my favorite mission statements of all time is the mission statement of the American Red Cross, and I am biased. If you cut me, I bleed red blood for the Red Cross, okay? I am an advocate. I am an ambassador of the Red Cross, okay? But their mission statement says that the American Red Cross helps people prepare for, prevent, and respond to emergencies. Prepare for, prevent, and respond to emergencies. What do they do? How do they do it? They don't just do it all. They help people by preparing for it, preventing, and responding to it. It gives you that. They have a whole list of 7 principal values. And they're posting, they're honed. And I'm telling you, when you go to work for the Red Cross, or you become a volunteer of the Red Cross, if you're at a good chapter, they're going to start with mission. They're going to go next to values. And then they're going to talk about the vision of the organization. And they drill it and drill it and drill it. I teach volunteers how to respond to disaster by teaching them the mission and the vision and the founding principles. And I'll give you a quick example. One of the very most difficult things that I did while I was at the Red Cross was dealing with the Gina 6 controversy. Do y'all remember the huge people coming out of the woodwork to go to Gina, Louisiana? And I don't care which side of that controversy you fall on, it was difficult, okay? So we got a call one day. I'm sitting in my office doing our thing, responding. I think we're actually responding to, there had been a drowning on the Red River, and they had first responders down there, and that's one of the things Red Cross does. They go in there, provide hydration and mental health services. We lost our mental health person, and we got one over there. Mental health services to the families, and so we were down there doing that with our volunteers, and I got a call, and they said, hey, Leanne, this is the Louisiana Black Caucus, Legislative Caucus. We want the Red Cross to come out and support the rally at Gina on whatever date that was. And I said, okay, wait a minute, say that, explain that to me a little bit. What are you looking for? And they explained it to me, and I said, well, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Because our mission is to help people prepare for, prevent, respond to emergencies. It's not an emergency, it's a planned event. Our principles say we have to be neutral and impartial, so we can't go and support something. But, and I explained, she was not happy. I'm just going to tell you. We talked about it a long time. I explained it as best I could, but I went right to mission and principles because that made that decision for me. Your mission and your principles helps your employees make wise decisions if it's a well-done mission. I got a call 3 days later from Stanley Griffin, the Louisiana State Police, and he said, Leanne, this is Colonel Griffin, we need you guys to come out to Gina. I said, talk to me about that. What do you mean you need us to come out to Gina? Well, we're concerned. We're now having estimates of the 20 to 25,000 people in that little bitty town on a hot day. I'm coming from all over the country. And to exacerbate things now, the businesses have opted to close and boycott. So there'll be no businesses open. There'll be no opportunity to get water. There'll be no opportunity to get cool. There'll be no opportunity to buy anything. They're closing down. The only thing that's going to be open is Walmart, and it's out of town. It's off the freight route. We have concerns that we're going to have some health and heat-related issues. And the town is going to be overwhelmed, and our EMTs are going to be overwhelmed, and we're bringing in the state police and all kinds of things, but we really could use your first aid teams out there. And I said, and who would we be taking care of? And he said, whoever needed it. That's the right answer. And so suddenly it's an emergency. Suddenly it's helping people prepare for and prevent emergencies, particularly health emergencies. Suddenly it's impartial and neutral. And so we went. It did not keep us from getting blasted for going. But we stood by it, and we did it, and we went for the right reasons. What you don't know is that in January, when they had the KKK rally, the big KKK rally that about 30 people showed up for, we got asked to do the same thing by the state police, and we did the same thing for the state police. Your mission should help people. It should help your employees get on board, know who you are, know what your business purpose is, know your values. A vision is different. A mission statement, I say, should be 35 words or less. That's Leanne Murphy's informed opinion, okay? I teach a class on this. And I believe 35 words or less because you can't remember it if it's longer than that. And you need to be so focused on your mission statement that people have it memorized. I give out prizes when people can tell me the mission statement of a company. I want it on t-shirts. I want it to be something memorable. Help people prevent, prepare for, and respond to emergencies. That's easy to remember. A strategic vision is the painted picture of an organization's future direction and business makeup. It's a painted picture. If you want a great book on vision, get Ari Weinsweg's, did I say that right? Get Ari's book on the vision. And it is great. It is a painted picture, and it's in the future. You write it as though it already happens. You need a vision, and your team needs to participate in that vision. They need to know what it is. They need to feel like they're a part of getting you there. And then the culture of the company includes the company mission as well as the expectations, goals, and work environment. It is the personality of the company. If you can't tell me, sitting here today, what your mission is, at least a hint of what your vision is, and what the personality of your company is, you cannot effectively onboard employees. If you don't know that, how are they going to adopt it? And you don't want to pay them whatever you pay them an hour for the next couple of years. Well, they figure out what they think your mission, vision, and culture is, and they create it because you didn't, and they will. So if you don't have one, the most important step you can take right now is to stop, do whatever necessary, and invest the time and the energy to get it, and then to make it a part of that. So step one was seeking the right fit. Step two is onboarding effectively. Dresser and Associates says the goal of onboarding, and I love this, is to help link the employee to the employer and to create a bond between them. If you don't have a strong relationship with your employees, they're not going to be there much longer. It usually is a strategic process, usually taking a year in length. We think onboarding, we think orientation, 2 hours. You need to rethink that. Which incorporates orientation, but is way to a much harder goal. Immersing the new employee in the company's culture and vision focuses on experiences rather than tasks. Okay, so onboarding effectively includes all of this stuff. It includes the written offer of employment. When you start onboarding, you have started onboarding the minute you provide them a verbal or written offer. And you need to recognize your mission, your vision, and your culture should impact the way you do that. Completion of required employee forms and screens. This is where most companies go south, right off the bat. Their onboarding process begins to fail right here. They say, oh yeah, go down and talk to HR and they'll help you fill out some paperwork. And then HR wasn't even expecting me, and then she's bellyaching, oh my gosh, they never tell me when they hire anybody, and I can't keep up with this, this is ridiculous. Guess what culture they're experiencing? It's not the voice you want. That is, it's setting the precedent right there. In the offer of employment, in the filling out of the forms, in the orientation, bars are being set. They're either being set down here where any moron could step right over them, or they're being set up here where they go, oh gosh, this company, they're serious. They got their stuff together. From every person that new employee encounters, they need to be communicating your mission, your vision, and your culture. If they're not doing that, if they don't understand that's their job, they are communicating their mission, their vision, and their culture, and it is not what you want for your company. I can guarantee it. You should make a new employee announcement with every new employee. There should be something. It gets put on the wall, a picture gets put out, something gets sent out. Everybody in the business should be expecting this person before they get there and prepared to welcome them in the culture of your company. An orientation exemplifying the culture explores the mission, vision, and employee handbook. I can tell you, I recently did an analysis with a company, and my report said the orientation process was torturous. I wasn't being oriented, I was observing, and it was torturous. The owner wasn't doing it. It assigned it to someone else. She had assigned it to someone else to do, and they had been rolling with it, and it had gotten further and further and further away from the mission, vision, and culture of that company every time, to the point where literally they were taking quizzes on safety videos, and she was saying, okay, put your name on it, I'll tell you what the answers are. We got to get through this. I'm not lying. And then what was funny is we did some interviews with other people and asked them how their orientation process did. They said, oh, it wasn't too bad. And I said, how were the quizzes? Oh, they gave us the answers. It's been happening for a long time. Oh, a welcome party, a tour, at least, including at least their team members. What a miserable experience to walk in first day on the job. The owner goes, oh, so glad you're here. Come on in. This is what I want you doing. And boom, they're gone. You have to introduce yourself to everybody else. What standard does that set? And yet we do it all the time. I've done it. You've got a new employee coming in and you're so busy, you're so overwhelmed that you say, gosh, things are kind of crazy right now. It's nuts. We're going to catch you up. If you're just sitting here and fill out your paperwork, guess what? I'm setting a standard. You don't have to be prepared. The owner's not even prepared. Okay? Training, classroom and or on-the-job training. Official goal setting for the employee supervisor. This should happen in the first week on the job. And it should happen knowing they got the mission and the vision and the culture discussion in a powerful and wonderful way in orientation. And now we're going to sit down. You know what our mission is. You know what our vision is. You know where we want to be in 5 years. What goals do you think? Let's pick out 5 goals for you in this job that will help our company get there. Guess what? Week 1, I feel like I'm part of the team. What I am doing, the goals that they are setting for me, are going to help this company get where they want to go. At least 2 coaching sessions with the supervisor, an official review of progress, and job fit with the supervisor. All of that should happen within your onboarding process. I think all of that should happen in the first 60 days. 60 days, 3 meetings with the supervisor. How many of you have had jobs where you had 3 meetings, positive meetings with your supervisor in the first 60 days? Not many. But I guarantee you the best companies, the employers of choice, it's happening. Because they know, I've got to get them on board, I've got to get them working, I've got to get them engaged. And 1 or 2 things is going to happen if you do this. You're going to find out you've got the right person and you're doing what it takes to get them to want to stay. Or you're going to find out you've got the wrong person and you're going to find out soon enough to do exactly what 2 of you recommended fire fast. Fire fast. Why do we want to fire fast? They're costing you money, and they aren't just costing you money. And a disengaged employee at a minimum costs your company $2,600. Cost your company. But what's worse than that is that 80-something% of people say that the disengaged employee beside them reduces their own productivity and makes them want to leave the company. Your disengaged employees are costing you money, they're decreasing the productivity of the people around them, and they're making the good folks want to leave. You cannot afford to keep them. Now, I say fire fast. That doesn't mean fire without a process. We are an at-will employment state, but there are still protected classes of people. You cannot just willy-nilly fire somebody over 40 without expecting they're going to come back and say that's potentially an age discrimination suit. So you've got to have documentation. You can't willy-nilly fire somebody who is a minority. And that's, I'm just going to be honest, guys, if you're not a white, under 40-year-old man, you are protected in some way. If you're under 40 and you're a white guy, you're not protected at all, okay? We're not worried about you individually. But everybody else has some protection. So don't fire arbitrarily. Document what's going on. Document your effort to bring that person up. And if you're doing this in the first 60 days, you've got all kinds of proof of it. You've had 3 meetings with them. You set goals. They're not meeting goals. That's hard documentation. You can be done with it. Fill out your, what they used to call a pink slip, and send it into the state before they do. Notify the state that you've terminated with cause. That whoever tells the story first is the most believable, right? Because that's what my daddy used to tell me. Okay, so tools for onboarding effectively. Employee file checklist for onboarding. You should have a checklist that every employee goes through this, and we get this for every employee, and this is what we know about every employee, and it's on that folder, on their personnel file folder. I have one of those. Managerial reports for selection tools. Manager employee fit guidance. There are, that PXT, one of the things I love about it takes that same assessment they took, and it will actually match them to another employee. You've got a manager that took it, and it'll say this is how they're going to fit, and this is how they're going to conflict, and this is how the manager needs to deal with this employee. Okay? Employee handbook. If you don't have one, you need one. For those of you who got the free HR kit, that $140 or $130 gift, we have the one from SHRM we purchased for you to be able to use. You can't disseminate it. You can't give it to other companies. Don't email it to your friends. It's a one-use, but you can use it in your own company. Standardized offer of employment. An employee announcement template so that it's not so hard. If you have all these templates and you start using them and you get in that pattern, you want to have those. And then a performance planning and evaluation tool. This is what I'm talking about, the candidate evaluation form. This is something that I created back years ago, and I use it, and I put it on the front of every employee folder. It's got their name, and then I know, is their application fully complete, partially complete, signed, date received? So from the time someone applies for a job and I'm seriously considering, I'm completing this. I'm doing 2 things. One, I've got a physical method to make sure I follow my own process. And number 2, I've got an objective tool so when I'm deciding between those 3 candidates and I lay those folders out, with this right on the top of it, I can go, this one only had 1 reference that ever responded to me. This one said they had a bachelor's degree, but they had never finished at Northwestern because I called to check it, and trust me, they will lie to you. What was that statistic? 34.7% of all applications include an outright lie in it. And the short time I was at the Red Cross and the very, very small staff we had there, I had 5, count of 5, people tell me they had degrees, and when I called to check on them, they didn't have degrees. 3 of them, when I told them that, said, well, nobody else has ever checked on that. Oh, well, gee. Okay. Every stage of onboarding should be scripted so that it communicates the culture of your company. It should be scripted. If you're going in and you're flying by the seat of your pants for the orientation, guess what? The first one may be great. You may knock it off the chart. The second one's going to be last, and the third one you're going to think, I'm tired of saying this. And if you ever pass it off to another employee, it's now their voice that's setting the standards for your company, unless you've got a script. That sets the bar, not only for what you expect of your employees, but it sets the bar for how they talk to you and one another. If you're flippant in that, if your HR person or you as the HR person or your front desk secretary is yin about having to fill out all this paperwork, You're telling them that that's okay. That's what we do here. And you're also telling them that if it's okay to do it one another, our internal customers, guess how they're going to treat your external customers eventually? It's like kudzu, you know? Just grows and takes over. All right, 3 steps to finding and keeping the right people then. Step 1 we said is seeking the right fit. Step 2 is onboarding effectively. And onboarding has to be intentional. You have to be very focused on communicating your mission, your vision, and your culture. And if you can't define those, you need to stop before you onboard another employee and create that. Step 3 is engaging intentionally. Fostering a culture of engagement, a brochure by Profiles International says, engaged employees, this is defining, are excited and enthusiastic about their jobs. They resist distractions. They tend to forget about time and routinely produce significantly more than the job requires. They encourage others to reach higher levels of performance. Finally, they are proud to be involved with organizations and are more likely than their unengaged peers to stay with the company. Did any of you see a statistic on that struck you about engagement that you went, oh wow, that's what I want? How about companies with engaged employees outperform other companies by 202%? 202%. Just think about it. Now, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but sit here and think, do I have that kind of engagement? Do I have engaged employees, excited, enthusiastic, blah, blah, blah? And if your answer is no, then the next question I want you to ask yourself is, what if I could increase productivity by 202% of my company? You can. Get your employees engaged. And there is a process to do that. First of all, can you identify your engaged employees? These are the things that an engaged employee will demonstrate. They pay attention, they act responsibly, they demonstrate energy and passion, they hold themselves accountable, they finish work on time, they rarely miss work, they help others, they know their own strengths and weaknesses, they participate in out-of-office activities. Just by defining it, now stop a minute and say, who is that at my company? Okay? Imagine 2 columns. Put all your engaged employees in column on the left. What does a disengaged employee do? It's exactly the opposite. They seek and cause distractions. They seek them. They're looking for something that's more exciting than work. They behave irresponsibly. They delay finishing work. They delay responding to requests. They show up late and tend to be absent. They complain about work and others, and they blame others. They skip most, they may skip most, or they may skip them all, non-mandatory activities. They resist helping others. They remain passive in meetings, and they avoid difficult and hard tasks. Put your other employees over there. The employees on the left are being drugged down by the employees on the right. The employees on the right are making the employees on the left want to leave your company. Bank on it. So, our final panelist is Kyra Turner. I'm going to tell you why I invited Kyra while she's coming up here. Number one, she's a young, visionary entrepreneur. She and her husband, and they've got a growing company. So she can speak to this. They've hired a lot lately. They're growing rapidly, so they're experiencing the same growing pains about this. But the second reason, and maybe even the more important reason, is because Kyra and I work together at the Red Cross. And Kyra was our development and special events fundraising coordinator. That was her job, but she worked with volunteers. The thing to know about the Red Cross is, for every 1 employee, we had 78 volunteers. So we were getting people to come and work for free, doing the hardest work you can imagine. Out in the heat, handing out bottled water, work in shelters and sometimes 24-hour shifts. Okay, this is not fun stuff. They were cleaning bathrooms, they were unplugging toilets, they were cooking for other people, and they were going to work 8 hours a day and then coming and working a 12 to 14-hour shift, and they did it for free. And they were engaged. And so I want Kyra to share just 3 or 4 minutes about her experience.
I won't be long, but I will say that, if you're a business owner or a new business owner in here, I'm in the same boat as you are. I'm learning and I'm still growing. However, in that, my husband, like I said, he started our business in 2009, so he's been working the vision, working the mission. And I just jumped on board about 3 years ago. And when I engaged or jumped on board, it was more of I engaged in the work of it. I had to get in there because it was just him and I. So I had to get in there and I had to work and engage myself in it that way. However, like I said, he was fully working that mission because he created it, he believed in it, and he felt the mission, so he was going to work for it. But when I got in there, I was in there to help him until I jumped on board and started really understanding, what he created his company for, what he believed in, and then I fully understood and fully got the grasp and start, working the mission like I should. And business owners that are in here today know that you probably never worked harder for anybody else than you would work for yourself. And when Leanne asked me to do this, I had to evaluate that, and I was like, well, I don't know, because I worked darn hard at the American Red Cross, very hard, and it was a different ball game because we had to get people to work for us who were not paid to do it, and we also had to get owners to work and to give money, and the one thing that I think about in that and being a new business owner and growing a business so rapidly is that engagement is key. It is key. And you have to know what you're engaging your people into. You have to know your vision. You have to believe in that mission and that vision. And then you have to be able to effectively communicate your mission and vision to your people. I think when we're doing a lot of work all the time, sometimes we don't stop to come over and engage that person or that employee in the mission. Clearly communicate that in everything that we do, and that's one thing that we pride ourselves on at Turn & Turn Contracting. We always engage our employees in everything that we're doing. We over communicate the mission to them and our passion about our business. And I just think that is key. When you know your vision, you know your mission, you believe in it. You communicate it effectively in every conversation that you have, every meeting, every gathering. It's not just that they know that mission, they know what it verbally says, but they believe in it because they're working toward that mission. And that gives them a sense of ownership. Like I said, you don't work harder for anybody as you work for yourself if you're a business owner. So you give them a sense of ownership when you fully engage them in that mission and they fully understand it, they believe it, and you invite them in to work for your mission.
Thank you, Connie.
You wanna? Well, I can tell you what it verbally says, but the mission of Turn & Turner is to provide affordable, realistic, and quality service to all of our residential and commercial customers. We do that, we value, we want to be on time, on budget, and with safety excellence. I mean, I can verbally tell you, but I can go into a lot of deep thought about it, but it verbally says that. But, I believe in helping people in our community with homeownership, which is one of the things that we pride ourselves in, and then also, building from the ground up, making something out of nothing. We talk, you can verbally say what your mission says, but it goes much deeper. Engagement goes much deeper than reading the words of your mission that's on paper. Thank you.
All right, so I've got to kind of power through this, but we've had a lot of good stuff today. Engaging intentionally includes ongoing training on the company's mission and vision, inviting employee involvement. As your company grows, you got to stay out there. You want a 3 to 5 year vision, so keep them involved. Let them help you. They may have a vision for you that you think, oh, good grief, why aren't we doing it? Implementing team suggestions for improved processes. You cannot imagine what that does for morale. For someone to say, man, it'd be great if we did this, and you go, that'd be great. And then not only do it, but give them credit for coming up with it. Recognizing employee contributions in an authentic and meaningful way. I'm going to challenge you. Try to come up with some meaningful and authentic ways to reward employees that have nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money. You would be amazed how many of them would like the boss just to go eat lunch with them. It's powerful. Linking employee tasks and jobs to the mission and customer impact. When we do focus group studies of employees, I find one of two things, and it's kind of fascinating. You either find that people don't see any impact that their job has at all, or they think that's the most important part of their job, because they see the impact. And we, as owners, fail miserably in leveraging that. There ought to be pictures and testimonials all over your building, not for your customers to see, but for your employees to see. So they see, what are we doing? Getting them involved in collaborative goal setting, so they see my goal helps the mission, what we talked about in that evaluation form we've developed. Developing employees through interactive coaching all year. Get rid of the performance appraisal. Get rid of a job valuation. Start doing coaching. Have coaching meetings with your teams every quarter, individually, and say, this is where you said you wanted to be. How can I help you get there? What are we doing? Where are we? How's it going? Turn it into coaching. And then your last one at the end of the year is their appraisal, but it's a coaching and it's interactive, and you want them to be excited about it. If they're going, oh, God, my evaluation day, you're doing it all wrong. Okay? Because the employees who care about your company are good, are being discouraged by it, and the employees who don't care just see it as just something else to check off of. It's annoying, but they're not being impacted. Coaching is different. Go at it from coaching. Walking among and or walking alongside employees, you have got to get out of your office. You've got to be working with people and talking with them and engaging with them. We used to have a joke. I even wrote a tongue-in-cheek thing about it when I was a teacher. I used to teach school about, we didn't understand what it was. The minute you walked over into the administrative side of the office, it's like you got brain damage. We supposed it was either the lead in the paint in those buildings or the formaldehyde in the carpet. We weren't completely sure what it was, but it was definitely there. You've got to get out of there. Getting to know employees' personal and professional dreams. If you don't know your employees' personal and professional dreams, you are not engaged with them. One of the people that I think is was the premier employer, and one of the best HR people I've ever met was Glenda Stock. 300 minimum wage employees at McDonald's, okay? That'd be tough to keep filled. And yet her turnover rate was one of the lowest in the country. And I can tell you, if you ask Glenda, you walked into any one of her restaurants with any one of her 300 employees, she would introduce you to that employee by name, and she would ask about something in their personal life. Totally engaged with them. And then planning and participating in out-of-the-office activities. Remember, engaged employees participate in out-of-office activities. If you haven't got any out-of-office activities going on, guess what? You've just hampered their ability to be engaged. Correlating your activities engaged employees. I'm not going to go over this real long, but just look at this. If engaged employees pay attention, then you've got to make meetings and trainings worthwhile. If they act responsible, then you need to discipline and retrain irresponsible employees. If they demonstrate energy, you've got to make work fun. If they hold themselves accountable, then you need to give them an opportunity to be accountable, and you need to reward them when they do that. If they finish work on time, don't overload them. The worst thing you can do to an engaged employee is, man, they get it done. They get, they're getting 25, 20, 26, 27% more done in their day, so let me give them more to do. If they rarely miss work, then reward that. If they, and fire disengaged non-productive workers. If they help others in the workplace, make gratitude a part of their culture. If they know their own strengths, then offer development and help them become stronger and advancement. If they participate in out-of-office activities, then provide some out-of-office activities. Invest significantly in getting to know your employees. So these are the tools. If you don't have a mission vision statement, VAS will be offering a class on it in the next upcoming year, so you need to get involved with that. If you don't have written standard operating checklist or procedures, you need to do that, because how are they going to know they're doing a good job when anybody can do it any way they want to do it? And your customers are going to be completely frustrated with you. Create a formalized recognition plan, something that's not financial. Just a handwritten thank you note. Do you know what would happen to a handwritten thank you note that you send an employee? They'd hang it up on the wall. They'd keep it. And it's sad that most of them have probably never gotten one. Engaged employees. Photos and posters depicting the impact of your business. Testimonials posted around your building. A newsletter, a bulletin board, a Facebook, or some other tool for sharing among your employees. Get them engaged. You ought to have your own little employee Facebook page. It can be private, it can be closed, but they ought to know what's going on. And then ongoing training and out-of-office activities. This is the performance plan that I developed for our company, my company years ago, and I use it with a lot of my clients. And you'll see that it tells them, it puts all, if you could read the instructions, it puts all of the responsibility on the employee. It says, you, in the first month on the job, or by the end of January every year thereafter, you need to fill out your goals. We used the little Synergist quiz because it was free. This was back when I was very, very poor. Actually, I added Synergist quiz for another company. But we have some kind of evaluation that says, this is where I rank. And this is where all the team members scores on something. I don't even care if it's a Cosmo quiz. It helps me get to know you. It's posted so I can go get to know each other. I would prefer it be a PXT, but something. And then the next page of it, this is where I've written my 5 goals that correlate to the mission and vision of the company. And every quarter, I date it. I, as the employee, say this is how far I've gotten on this particular goal. And I do it for every one of my 5 goals. And then I set my appointment with you as an employer. If I don't do that, guess what you know about me as an employee? I am disengaged. If I won't do what I need to do for myself to be able to qualify for raises or bonuses. And then the last quarterly appointment, the instructions say for me to highlight each of the statements that I believe is a true characterization of me. Arrives to work on time. If I believe that, I would highlight it. And then I would put a check in the one in each group that I think represents me. Below requirements, meets requirements, or exceeds requirements. Please don't put expectations. Expectations, my expectations are you're up here all the time. You can never exceed that kind of expectation. So requirements. And then it's just meet, below, meets, or exceeds. And I put a check mark. And then I bring it into my boss. Guess what they do? They highlight in a different color. So I can see what we agreed on, what we disagreed on. And as a boss, if you come in and you say, I arrived timely at work, and that's highlighted, and you're late 3 out of 5 days a week, I'm going to have a conversation with you. Obviously, I have not communicated what the arrival time requirement is here. Because you think you're here, but 3 out of 5 days last week you were late. And then I put an X. So there may be a check mark, and if that check mark turns into an X, then we agreed. If it's not, you can see what you thought and what I, as a supervisor, thought, and that is an area for conversation. What I love about this is about 90+% of the time, and I'm not exaggerating, that's been my experience, I get to come in and say, you didn't highlight this, and I think it absolutely describes you. Or you gave yourself a check for meets, and I think you exceed my requirements. You're going above and beyond here. And I get to be a coach, and it's a very positive experience. On the flip side, that less than 10% that come in and they think they're rocking the world, and I'm like, then I give them one opportunity. I clearly have not communicated some things. Let's talk about this. I love that you think you're being successful. What I'm worried about is that I haven't done a good job of communicating. So if that's on me, the first time. After that, I know I've communicated. Okay? So I love this tool. We do have the HR kits. I just need to mention those of you who got those. These do have copyrighted material. Copyrighted material that belongs to my company, copyrighted material that belongs to Sherm that I've purchased your rights to use. Don't make copies of it. Don't send it and say, hey, you ought to use this. It's a great tool. It's for your use in your one business, okay? They are editable, and rather than give you copies of them, make you retype them, I put them on a flash drive for you. So you go home, it's a document, you just plug it in and you use away for your one company. And these are the things that they include. And so that's your $129 value that those of you who registered got for free. Then I do want to make a couple of offers to you. For the first 20 employees who are interested, Gary has agreed that he will share with me, partner with me to provide a consultation and a PXT assessment at no charge to your company. So you can go to that website. It's my website, lithos.us, L-I-T-H-O-S.us. Click on the Let's Meet tab and schedule a consultation, and we'll include a free demo. Now, what we're going to encourage you to do is don't do the demo on yourself. Okay? We can't be objective, and you won't do an objective value. Do a demo on somebody that you know well, so that you can look at it and you can say, oh yeah, that pegs them, or oh no, it doesn't. And we want you to decide whether the tool's valid. And we just can't be objective about ourselves. And we'll do that at no charge. That's about a $400 value. And then also, Gary has some funds, and it's limited funding, to match support. And this isn't just for me, but for a consultant that would help your company go to the next level. If you need a one-on-one, you can go and get a proposal from that company. And if it is something that fits within the BAS funding structure, Gary will split it. And you pay your half and you're done. And so we've done that with website development. We've done it with QuickBooks training. BAS has done it with SEO optimization right there, search engine optimization is repetitive. But he's offering to do that too for if you need HR, the kind of thing that we did with Adam. And if you are not already certified as a small and emerging business, you should become certified as a small and emerging business because the state has matching funds as well. If you're an entrepreneur and you meet their criterion, they will match funds, and they have a little bit larger pool of money than Gary does, can you imagine? And so there's some funding that you might want through that, so I wanted to make you aware of that. So we were going to do one more activity. We don't have time for it.
I want to say too, first presenter mentioned the Louisiana Workforce Commission.
Yes.
I know I've used them.
They are a great resource.
And they've even had programs where if I hire a qualified person, they pay their salary for the first whatever.
Training period, right. Yeah, if you're not involved with the Louisiana Workforce Commission, you need to go over there and you need to call and make an appointment and go and talk to them about all the opportunities that they have. That's where you can get the work keys testing for free. And I will mention, I don't think Brooke mentioned it, you can go to the Community Technical College and take a refresher course, but Louisiana Workforce actually has computerized tutorials that they can take and just take on their own time there to bring them up to speed on a certain, I'm glad you mentioned that. This activity we were going to do as an example of something you can do to engage your employees. We don't have time for it, so I'm not going to do it, but it is in your paperwork, and you can go home and do it with them. It's called the 5 Shapes, and it helps you, it's a good way to get to know people. You just tell them, close your eyes, pick one of the 5 following shapes. You have 5 seconds, don't let anybody influence you, and hold on to it. We're going to talk about what it means. And you tell them, pick a square, a circle, a triangle, a rectangle, or a squiggle. Okay? And then you stand up and you tell them, you say, okay, squares stand up, and you can read that to them, and then you go through it. And I'll actually sometimes give them copies of the shapes and let them put it on their door. So when you walk in my door, you know I'm a triangle. And if you're a squiggle, I'm pointy and you're not, okay? We got some issues we need to be aware of there. So that's by Susan Dillinger. We didn't have time for it, but I've included it for you. All right, any questions? Any questions?
I'd like to say one thing as far as seeking employees. Keep your eyes open too as you're out, as a customer at other businesses. If you see somebody that's giving you stellar service, then solicit.
That's right. 75% of employees are already employed that are coming to Royal Martin. And you'll notice in one of the bullet points it says, expand your pool to find more available and not so available employees. Your best employees tend to be employed. And I'm not above, and I have done it, scavenging from an Outback wait staff. Good service. He presented everything that I thought I needed in an instructor, and yeah, I said, give a second, come back to my thing. I got a better than a tip for you, okay? All right, anything else? Great point, thank you. Okay, if you were one of the first 20 that registered, you got one of those tickets, come on up here and get this. I will sell them to you too, so you're welcome to if you need those tools. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for coming.